Dovrei, no, provare. Trust but verify. Anybody remember back when that was going around? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, trust but verify. It's a Russian proverb. Trust but verify. And the proverb was taught to President Reagan as he was preparing to meet with Soviet officials to discuss nuclear disarmament. And somebody who was coaching him, preparing him for this meeting, taught him this phrase so that maybe he could have something from that culture, that language, that they could understand. It was supposed to sort of help both sides start out on common ground. And that was kind of important because they were working to break down a whole lot of mistrust and the presumption that the two countries were eternal enemies. Nothing like it is now. It can be good to start out with a little small joke, just to loosen people up, and trust but verify. It was a small joke that grew deep roots. Right? The whole phrase is very Russian. It's so Russian, and it's paradoxical. Is it really trust if you have to go out and verify that it's trustworthy? And the phrase, for somebody who's not familiar with Russian culture, it can seem kind of cynical about the nature of trust. Okay, you go ahead and trust, but you better make sure that it's trustworthy. You're going to want to make double sure if you've been a fool enough to trust. The phrase can sound like it's rooted in suspicion. Like it's rooted in a fear that there's going to be a violation, that you should probably mistrust. It's a small joke with deep roots, and it's dark humor. It's darker humor than Reagan usually used, so it was sort of strange to hear it coming out of him. But astonishingly enough, the meetings did produce results, right? The Gorbachev and Reagan did manage to shift from seemingly intractable positions. And we did reduce the chance of a nuclear exchange between our countries. So maybe a shared dark joke was the best place to start. It acknowledged that neither side could be expected to be trustworthy unless they were willing to show verification. I think it was a masterful start. You start with their own proverb to show where to begin. Trust, but verify. I think it was a better place to start than if you'd started with the German proverb, trust, but not too much. I don't think we would have gotten as far. It was probably a little more useful than a Chinese proverb, which is, when there is trust, no proof is necessary. When there is no trust, no proof is possible. Personally, I'm rather fond of the Arabic proverb. Trust in God, but tie up your camel. It's very practical, very practical. Maya Angelou wrote, kids, listen to this one. Maya Angelou wrote, I don't trust people who don't love themselves but say, I love you. There's an African saying which is, be careful when a naked person offers you a shirt. Think about that one. How would you feel taking that shirt? How would you feel taking that I love you when someone is clearly not loving themselves? Can you trust that love? Now, all these proverbs are fun, but I want you to notice that they all have this presumption that trust is something that we have a choice in, a control over. And also, all of these proverbs are exchanges between the self and an other or an outside, interior, exterior. That there's a danger in that outside world, and you have to make choices in how you engage with it, okay? But here's another place I'd like us to look at, trust but verify, that takes place entirely within the self. It's a process, an exchange between the head, the heart, the gut. Because while we like to think that trusting is a choice, it's something that we decide and then we act upon, I think trust is a little more emotional than that. It's more emotional than rational, which is why it catches us up sometimes. It seems that as a species, we appear to be hardwired to trust. Neurologically speaking, we seem to have evolved that trust confers advantages over people who don't trust. And so our ancestors learned that to trust and cooperate got us farther than not trusting. This is why it's an advantage up until the moment that it's not. Here's the problem. Sometimes our trust, our instinct to trust, will sometimes override our logic and reason. Perhaps the heart extends the trust, but the head and the gut are the ones who reserve the right to verify. Okay. Now, remember last week I spoke about how trust seems to be something that is built in increments. It's not a grand gesture kind of thing. Real deep trust is something that happens little by little, and it can be broken, but it can then be built up again, little by little. So if trust is something that emanates from the heart, what is the head and the gut all up to? Well, the head, and when I'm saying the head, I'm describing your cognitive processes, your thinking, your decisions, your interpretations of what seems to be real. Your head likes to think that it's in charge. And your head would like us all to be much more rational when we're making decisions. The head likes to think that it is what's in charge of all verification. Thank you very much. But the head can be misled. While the head is smugly presuming that its eyes and ears are fact-gathering organs, and that reason is what we're in charge of, in a single blink, a head can make a terrible decision based upon prejudice or unexamined bias. If you want to know more about that, go and read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink. It's all about how people, trusting their rational sensory input, will still react based upon unexamined bias and previous prejudice, and they will react without verification, and the result can be a sad outcome. But it's something we need to know about, that our brains will do. We've got a copy in the library. What about the gut? Gut instinct, you got a feeling in your gut. Do you trust your gut? You probably should. It's not a bad thing. Just trust your gut, but then check it out against your head and your heart on how you're going to respond. And it's a turn of speech. Trust your gut. I had a feeling in my gut. But as we start to explore the body more, we're finding that actually the gut, specifically the enteric nervous system, is actually responsible for a whole lot of information. It's kind of being seen as a second brain, right? How many brains do you have? No, you got a second brain. It's down in this area. It's the enteric nervous system is responsible for sending a lot of information up to the brain, often about digestion and things, but also it seems to be a place where certain emotions and cognitive things are happening. So yeah, your gut is contributing to your feelings. It can be part of your emotional state based on what's happening down here. And your gut can also be part of the terrible decisions informed by unexamined prejudice or bias. So here we have this kind of internal checks and balances systems between the head, the heart, the gut, back and forth. Trusting but verifying keeps me honest internally. It behooves us to examine why? Why am I trusting? Why do I feel so certain? Why have I extended that? Why does this make all the sense in the world? Well, go back. Maybe it's because it just looks familiar. Maybe because I'm scared of it not being what I want it to be. Maybe because I have not looked closely and looked again. What I'm saying is that done well, trust but verify needs to start internally first. It begins within and then it moves out into our relationships with others, out in our relationships to the world, out in relationship to that which is holy. Now, I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister, so at about this point in the sermon, I'm supposed to somehow tie it back to being Unitarian Universalist. If we consider our 6 sources that we draw upon, it includes things like our direct experience, the words of prophetic people, the guidance of reason and science, we'll be fine, right? It sounds like when we go out to affirm and promote our 7 principles, if we just draw upon these 6 sources, but I want to say, maybe that dark joke, trust but verify, is something we need to carry along with us. If we're going to do like we say we're going to do in our 7 principles, we're going to go out and conduct a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. That responsible part means that we're going to verify. It means examining my conduct to see how is it actually affecting others around me. Well, I have the right to a free and responsible search. The responsible part holds me to verify. If we're going to go and exercise the right of conscience, that is to do what I know is right in my own mind, I better go and examine and verify why my conscience got formed that way, so that I'm not just moving out of some place of unexamined bias or prejudice. If we're going to prepare ourselves to go out and do justice in this world, I really hope that we'll do more than just trust that we're doing the right thing, that we're not just doing something to affirm our sense of correctness and well-being, that we're actually doing work that is what is going to help others. We need to verify that we're actually heading in the right direction. All right? It's like sending dried milk powder to starving people who have neither clean water to reconstitute the milk powder, and they're lactose intolerant. We gave them milk. It was the wrong thing to send. Right? So if we're going to do social justice, let's make sure that we're doing something that is actually coming out of what is needed, not just out of what will make me feel good. Okay? So this is the process: trust and verify. Where's joy in all of this? Where's the fun in all of this? I want to let you know, verification does not just mean going out and using the exact sciences and social metrics to determine that we should continue to trust. No. If we're going to do the relaxing, the joyous trusting in the universe, trusting that we belong, that we are a part of all that is, the verification process then is not about an accountancy. It's about a delight in all the ways that we belong, in all the ways that we are co-creating. It's that moment where John Keats wrote, "Beauty is truth, truth, beauty." A friend of mine once, contemplating all of this work, said, being a Christian is not easy. Oh, yeah. She said, yeah, but being a Unitarian Universalist is just a lot of work. She's right. This is no paint-by-numbers approach to being religious. But it keeps us busy. And in that busyness is the exchange, the dialogue between the I and the thou, the we, the internal, the external, and grace in the space between. Trust and verify. May it be so, and blessed be.